Add a few additional commands and begin to see how we can explore the file system on our Ubuntu Linux box. Let's start with going back to the tilde character that we see here. We indicated earlier that this tilde symbol has a special meaning to it in the shell. It represents the user's home folder or home directory. If you're used to a Windows environment, think of this as the My Documents folder area for this particular user. So the tilde is a shortcut way of referencing the home folder or home directory for this particular user. Now, there's a command I can type in called pwd. PWD stands for Present Working Directory. The present working directory is the directory or folder, if you're used to using the term folder, that your shell is currently working in. We see here I'm in the Drake.js folder that is inside of the home folder or home directory. What if I want to see what is in the Drake.js directory? Well, there's a listing command called ls. If I type it in and hit ls, it gives me a listing of what is my present working directory, or what is also commonly called the current working directory. Those two terms are interchangeable. So with the ls or listing command, it shows me the contents of the /home/Drake.js folder. Notice that there are color codings in this particular terminal. These items that are more of a blue color are folders or directories, whichever word you prefer, and those that are simply in a white color are some type of file in this case. Now, again, the ls command, when I hit enter, operates on my present working directory unless I tell it to operate on some other directory. I could do this, ls/home, and hit enter. This shows me the contents of the home directory. In this case, ls is the command, home is the argument of the command. It is what the command is operating on. And I can add to that an option that will change the output of this particular listing command. The -L is a long listing option. In this particular case, it's fairly obvious the types of extra information that you're getting with the listing command. I'm getting permissions, which we'll cover in later chapters. I'm getting the name of the user who owns the folder or file. I'm also getting the name of the group owner of this particular file directory. One of the unique things, which we'll cover in a later chapter when we talk about user and group accounts, is the fact that in a Unix system or in a Linux system, most distributions create a user account and a group account named after that user. All files and all folders must have both a user owner and a group owner. And it just so happens that there's a group called Drake.js. Again, this is common in Linux distributions. Here we have a size. Notice that these are the same because these are directories. And this gives me a last modification date here. A last modification date and time, excuse me. So I've got a command, I've got an option, and I've got what your textbook calls the argument of the command. Again, if I type in the command by itself with no argument, it assumes that I want to run that command against what? My present working directory. What is my present working directory? Well, it's notated by the tilde symbol, but if I'm not sure what that means, I can type in pwd and it tells me what my present working directory is at the moment. Now, I can change my present working directory with a command called cd. So if I type in cd/tmp, notice how the prompt changes. Now it tells me that my present working directory is the /tmp directory. If I do a pwd, it tells me what I can already see in the command prompt or in the terminal prompt area. And then if I want to change back to my home directory, I can do that in one of two ways. I could type out the full, what we call absolute path. And hit enter. And it will take me back to my home directory. Or, let's do that a different way. Let's move back to the /temp directory, and I'll do cd space, and then I'll use my tilde symbol. And that will also take me back to my home directory. Again, it takes me back because the tilde symbol is a shortcut symbol representing my home directory, or the home directory of whoever is logged in at this particular terminal. Let's see that in a different way. If I switch to the virtual terminal, I'm logged in here as John Smith 1234. If I do the pwd, notice that he is in his home directory as his present or current working directory. So if he simply types in the ls command, it gives him a listing of those things that are in his home directory. If you've compared the contents, you'll notice that the folders and files are the same at this particular time for jsmith1234 as they are for the Drake.js account. That's because, like in any operating system, the home folder or home directory for a user has certain standard things that are created for it. You commonly see these things in Windows machines too: a downloads folder, a desktop, documents, pictures, videos, and so on. Again, I can also change here over to the temp directory, and then I can change back using my tilde symbol, and it takes me back to JSmith's home directory at that point. So the commands work the same, the principles work the same, whether you're in a virtual terminal, which we're in here, or whether we're in a GUI or GNOME terminal, which is what we're in here. Now, one of the most important things that you'll be doing in this course is learning the file system and how to maneuver around in it. So I'm going to go up here and open up the Nautilus tool. And this is comparable to sort of like the My Computer or Windows Explorer tool in a Windows environment. Notice it shows me some of my different folders that are created. But I also see this link that says File System. If I click on the link that says File System, this is comparable to clicking on the C drive in a Windows machine. This takes me to the very root of the file system. Again, it takes me to the root of the file system. The root of the file system is the very, very top of the file system. It's the first directory that's created. On the root of the file system, we see a variety of different folders that get created during the installation of the Ubuntu system. We've already seen the home directory here. If I double click on it, here's my Drake.js home folder, and here's the JSmith home folder as well. There are some other directories in here. We see the Etsy directory, which has a lot of configuration files in it. And we see the sbin directory and the bin directory, which has a lot of the commands or programs in it that we run on a Unix system, or excuse me, on a Linux system. The important thing to remember, or one of the important things to remember, is that when you're using, for example, the cd command, you are moving around from folder to folder, or folder to subfolder. So home has inside of it two subfolders or subdirectories, Drake.js and JSmith1234. So these two folders or directories are subdirectories of this home folder. The home folder is a subdirectory of the root directory or the root of the file system. The term root file system is sometimes foreign to many people. We're used to looking at it in a Windows system and we simply see a C colon and we double click on it and we know that takes us to certain types of folders and files. Well, in a Unix or Linux system, the root of the file system is designated by /. So quickly again, in the GUI, in Nautilus, I click on file system, I see bin, boot, CD-ROM, home, etc, dev, lib, so on and so forth. Now let's move back to the terminal window. If I do ls /, notice the directories that I see: bin, boot, CD-ROM, etc, home. I'm seeing the exact same thing here when I do an ls space / that I see here when I click on this icon simply called the file system. Again, I'm looking at the root or the very, very top of the file system. I can maneuver around inside of these folders and files with that cd command we used earlier. I type cd / lib. Now I'm inside the lib directory. I can do cd / etc. Now I'm working inside the etc directory. I can do cd / home. Now I'm working inside of the home directory. Now from here, what if I want to switch back to the etc directory? I can type in cd space etc. Notice that this command does not work. And this introduces us to the next concept of absolute and relative paths. Notice that when I type in the cd command space and then etc, again, I did not include the /. What I have told the computer to do is to change to the etc directory that lives inside of the home directory. Well, if we do a listing on the home directory, do we see an etc directory inside of the home directory? No, we don't. We simply see a Drake.js and a JSmith1234 directory. So when I tell the computer to switch to or change directories to the etc directory, it's looking inside of home for an etc directory to change to. What I really need to do is to take that command and put that / in front of it. What the / tells the terminal is to go back to the root of the file system, this area right here, and then go into that root etc directory. So again, I'm telling the computer, go to the root of the file system, and once you get there, locate the etc directory and change to it.